You know, there's basically like a menu of scandal to choose from. It's not like a Waffle House menu where it's picture-based and there's not all that many choices, and so you just point at the things that you want and how many of them you want on your plate. It's not that kind of menu. The scandal menu right now is like one of those menus that's a binder with tons of pages, too many choices, and you can't narrow it down. I mean, just start anywhere. Start anywhere. Start with Carl Icahn, who has been tasked by the new administration with advising them on regulations. What Carl Icahn has been advising the new administration is that the administration should kill a regulation that will result in nearly a $250 million a year windfall for a company in which Carl Icahn has an 82% ownership stake. When the administration did an across-the-board regulation freeze right after the inauguration, mysteriously, the one new regulation they didn't freeze was one that would positively affect Carl Icahn's 82% stake in that same company for tax purposes. The Carl Icahn thing alone is a capital S scandal. Just the Carl Icahn thing, that is as big a scandal as, like, say, the one that made Vice President Spiro Agnew resign in 1973. If you don't like that one, may I interest you in the Scott Pruitt special today. He's the former Attorney General in Oklahoma. He's now having his law license reviewed by the state of Oklahoma because he overtly, simply, clearly lied to the United States Senate under oath during his confirmation when he was questioned about whether or not he ever conducted government business on his personal email accounts. He did conduct government business in Oklahoma on his personal email accounts. He lied about that. He told the Senate that he did not. And who cares about email? Well, who cares about lying to the Senate? And Scott Pruitt isn't a humdrum who cares member of the Trump administration. Scott Pruitt may be the most radical cabinet secretary Trump has appointed to any agency. Today, Scott Pruitt took the almost unprecedented step of throwing out the window the EPA's scientific findings that one particular pesticide is unsafe and should be banned in this country. Today, Scott Pruitt took that scientific finding, threw it out the window, said, screw it, don't care. And on his own say-so, he decided that that pesticide will now be legal. Forget the process of determining whether or not it's safe. Forget what the scientists concluded in his own agency, which is that it's not safe. He threw that out the window, said it's legal on his own say-so. So it's not like Scott Pruitt is an obscure or uncontroversial figure in the new administration. He's doing his best to make himself as highly visible as possible by being a real radical when it comes to policy. But, even if you like what Scott Pruitt is doing in terms of policy, he really did lie to the United States Senate. He might lose his law license for having done so. If anything like that had happened to a cabinet official in the Obama years, that would have been enough to keep the lights on at Fox News through like 7 seasons of Fox and Friends. Even beyond Washington, there's stuff going on right now that in any other time would be huge points of focus for the whole country. The governor of Alabama is probably going to be impeached next week. Arkansas is planning to execute 8 men in 10 days. They're planning on 4 double-header executions. Double headers, back-to-back, 4 of them using drugs they've never used before. The U.S. military has now launched investigations into the second, apparently terribly botched military operation of the young Trump era. The first one was the catastrophic raid in Yemen, which the new president apparently approved over a dinner with Jared. The second was a massive airstrike in a civilian-populated area of Mosul in Iraq. The U.S. and Iraqi forces had dropped leaflets, reportedly, in that neighborhood, telling civilians to definitely stay in their homes, to not leave. And then U.S. planes came in and apparently bombed that exact same neighborhood. There are reports of as many as 200 men, women, and children, all civilians, killed in their homes, after the United States reportedly told them to stay in their homes and then bombed their homes. So take your pick from the scandal menu, right? That's even setting aside any issues about self-dealing and conflicts of interest, and the president appointing his children to high-ranking, sensitive government positions, and the question of whether the president is profiting from the presidency or even receiving payments from foreign governments through his businesses from which he has not yet divested. I mean, even if you set that stuff aside, the self-dealing stuff, we are already changed as a country. Because before now, any one of these scandals that I just mentioned in Washington or around the country would be nationally riveting, right? Would be a source of seething outrage. If not bipartisan outrage, then at least partisan outrage. But in this new American era, what we're doing instead is kind of cataloging that stuff in the background, assuming we'll get to it at some point. But in the meantime, what we've been doing every day is watching the unfolding of the one Trump scandal that seems existential. The one Trump scandal that it seems like might undo this presidency by revealing this presidency as basically the product of a crime, at least the product of a foreign actor acting with American Confederates. Every day, it is these ongoing revelations, which keep getting worse and not better, about the Russian government attacking the election, attacking the process by which we got this new president. And the prospect that it wasn't just an attack, it was a collaborative or at least coordinated effort between that foreign government and our president's campaign. The news today that we may get testimony in exchange for immunity from fired National Security Advisor Mike Flynn, who is in a position potentially to know more about this scandal than anybody else. That news today revs this scandal up into a higher gear that we didn't even know we had in our national transmission. And, you know, we here at this show, and I think on this network, we will cover this as aggressively as anybody. I think it's been fair to say we have been as aggressive as anybody on this story already, and that will remain the case. But I want to just plant this flag here. There remains the possibility that the president and his campaign are innocent. There remains the possibility that the president and his campaign are not innocent, but that this scandal does not prove to be an existential presidency-ending conflagration, even if they are found to have committed very bad acts. There remains the possibility that at the end of this, even if these investigations continue to go as badly as they have for the president thus far, there remains the possibility that at the end of all of it, he's still president. And then, for the sake of our democracy, we have to figure out how we are going to regain our intolerance for corruption and scandal and throwing our American ethical and political norms out the window. I mean, one of the consequences already of the Russia attack and its aftermath is that what otherwise would be presidency-ending scandals in any presidential administration are like, whew, page 15 if you get there, man. I mean, when all this is over, and who knows how it ends, if we are ever to regain our previous standing as a liberal democracy, right, there's going to have to be consequences for, you know, the Carl Icahn stuff, for the lying to the Senate stuff, for the personal ethics stuff, for the nepotism, even for the political radicalism that we now see is definitely no big deal because at least it's not treason. Whether or not the Russia scandal brings down this presidency, and it might, the point of the Russia attack was to knock America down a few pegs in the eyes of the world. They win and we lose if the outcome of all of this, regardless of this presidency, is that we become a country that lets all this other stuff slide, right? Where even rank corruption becomes normal or too small potatoes for us to worry about it. We cannot let ourselves be the American generation where the standards slipped that badly, right? Where that happened. At some point, we're going to have to get back to zero in terms of being able to be shocked by corruption, nepotism, and crime in government. We're going to have to get back to zero when it's all done.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.